Have you been doing it all when it comes to content? I mean, you've got a content strategy that's supposed to blow up your bank account. You've got content pillars, a content calendar, templates, frameworks, a script. You've downloaded the best viral hooks. You've batched your content. You're posting multiple times per day. You're following what others have told you that you need to do in order to make more money from your content, but still your bank account has not changed. Well, in this video, I'm going to share with you three really critical components that you need to have in place and have aligned for any content strategy to work for you. But I want you to understand that as a go-getter, as a high achiever, somebody who has accomplished really amazing things in your life, you have been conditioned to do. And there's nothing wrong with doing things. We definitely have to take action. But when it comes to content, it's not just about the doing. It is so essential for us to take into consideration who we are being. And this isn't something that's talked about because the industry of online business is all around do, and taking action. And yes, we need it, but we need to also understand who we are being. What is our identity? Now, the best example I can give you of this came from a book that I read a little while ago, and I can't remember the book that I read it in, or I would let you know. But it's such a good example that I want to share it. Let's take a smoker, for example. A smoker has a revelation one day that they need to quit. And so they go off and they're like, I need a strategy. And that strategy is they put a patch on their arm, and that is their strategy to quit. Now, let's say this person goes to a party and someone says to them, hey, do you want to smoke? And now that smoker says, I'm trying to quit. Now, let's take another person who is a smoker that has a strategy and they put that patch on their arm. That person doesn't even go to a party because they don't want to put themselves in a position to ever be tempted. But let's say somebody does come up to them and say, hey, you want to smoke? That person says, I don't smoke, as opposed to saying, I am trying to quit. One person has changed their action and behavior, but is using some willpower and is still putting themselves in a position to be tempted, whereas the other person who has said, I don't smoke, doesn't put themselves in a position to be tempted and also doesn't even own the identity anymore of still smoking. They say, I don't smoke. The second person is an embodiment of their beliefs and values as this new person. They are a demonstration, a representation of not being a smoker. So they don't even put themselves in a position to be tempted. And when approached, they end up saying, I don't smoke. And they are still using the patch on their arm as their strategy. Content is the exact same way. We have to be an embodiment of our message that we carry and the embodiment of our values and of our beliefs. And this isn't the part that people are talking about. So how do you become a demonstration, a representation of your message, of your values and of your beliefs? Well, the three components that you want to have aligned is mentally, emotionally, and spiritually be aligned, because we can take the action all day. But as you've seen, if your bank account is not moving, then one of these three critical elements are not in place. So when you don't have these elements in place, what tends to happen is a lot of willpower. And willpower runs out of will and runs out of power. It's why it can get you into momentum, get things going, but it doesn't ever keep things going. And so your content strategy may have gotten off to a good start. You might have felt really hopeful that things were going to take off and your content was going to start bringing in the sales, but it hasn't. And now you're like, I don't know what to do, because now you have run out of willpower to keep going because mentally, emotionally, and spiritually, there is a misalignment. But I'm going to share with you how to align these three, and I'm going to give you some examples. So let's say that you have been posting content, you've got an amazing strategy that's supposed to bring in all the sales, but mentally, you are doubting your ability. You are doubting your ability to build a bigger business. Maybe you've already got a couple clients that you're working with, you're making some money, but things aren't exploding the way that you thought that it was. It's because you have a doubt in your mind that I can't build a bigger business. And so now you end up focusing on all of the things in your business that aren't working. You're focusing on what is not happening. You're seeing the downside to just about everything without actually seeing any upside. And this fear that you're holding on to being judged, this fear that people are going to criticize you, and this doubt that you're holding in your mind is stunting the growth and the authenticity of your content. Because now, instead of posting freely in your content, you've got doubt in the back of your mind. So the energy of the content that's coming through isn't quite there. It's not quite meshing with your audience. And so you know what it's like when you watch a video or you read a blog post or an article of someone's content and you instantly have some kind of connection with them. You don't know what it is. It's an intangible sensation in your body, but you are connected and you want to consume more of that person's stuff. And then you read or watch someone else and it's dry. It's like overcooked chicken, no seasoning. You're like, why is this piece of content so dry? There's no connection. It's like a negative and a negative. It just repels, or a positive and a positive. It just repels. There's nothing about you that is drawing you closer to that person's content. You feel nothing. There's no sensation. Now, imagine when two people have the exact same type of content, they're teaching on the exact same thing. You're attracted and connected to one, but not the other. That is because you are hearing everything that that person isn't saying. One person might have all the doubt in their mind of like, I don't think I can build a bigger business, but they're taking the action anyway. Well, their action is fueled by, I'm just accustomed to being in motion because I'm a high achiever, I'm a go-getter. I'm going to just keep doing, and pray and cross my fingers and I hope that this works. But energetically, they're holding back. And so what you're picking up on now as a consumer of this person's content is you're actually picking up on the fact that there's some fear or there's some doubt or there's some holding back. And they don't need to say that. It is just something that is intangible that you are feeling. And that is why we're often attracted to people who are so bold, who are so courageous and say things that we look and go, oh my gosh, I can't believe that they said that out loud. It's because we admire somebody being able to be embodied in that kind of message. There's no holdback, there's no fear, there's no doubt. And that's why we are connected to them. They don't have to say, I'm courageous, I'm confident. They don't need to use those words. They are an embodiment, they are a demonstration, a representation of what they believe. So if your mind is consumed with not succeeding or doubting, then content is going to be like, bleh. You'll be doing it, but it won't have that energy. So you need to be able to see yourself the way that God sees you, because you're not going to ever be able to create results that is that is inconsistent with how you are or consistent with how you are. Let's say you see yourself as a person who is holding back and you've got this doubt in your mind. It's difficult to create like rockin' results because the image you're actually holding in your mind is one of holding back. So we can never create results that's inconsistent with how we are or how we're really seeing ourselves. So we have to change mentally, which means we have to see ourselves the way God sees us. We have to allow Him to renew our mind. And the first thing you want to keep in mind is that we are made in His image. That's first and foremost. The second thing we want to keep in mind is that God has not given us a spirit of fear, but of power and of love and of a sound mind. This is 2 Timothy chapter 1, verse 7. Then I want you to look at Psalm 23 because this is where God reminds us that we are walking through the valley. Not to the valley, but we are walking through the valley. When we walk to something, we walk up to it and there's this abrupt stop. But when we are walking through something, it means that there's another side. What does he go on to say? He goes on to say that he has a table prepared before us. And what else does he say? in the presence of our enemies. So he knows we're actually going to make it through this valley that might feel like death right now. And it feels so difficult and hard and challenging. But if we can see our challenges as a classroom, a way for us to deepen our faith, develop our discipline, and start to renew ourselves the way that He sees us, we're making it through the valley. And so, this challenge or this trial is meant to shape you mentally so that you can actually hold the vision of a bigger business that you desire to create. So, we got to be in line mentally. Now, the second place we got to be aligned is emotionally. And I would say emotional and mental, of course, they all play a role, they go hand in hand. But what I often see emotionally is that people are creating content as a way to heal their own void or to soothe their own core wounds. What I mean by that is if you inherently need to be liked or have a deep desire to be liked. You don't want to be criticized. You don't want to be judged. And you want people to like you. Then you are emotionally creating content to get likes, to get comments, and to make the dollars. You are looking to get something from your audience by making content as opposed to giving something to your audience. Social media is a platform for us to give something to. It is not a platform for us to get something from. But if you need to get likes, if you need to get validation that you're doing a good job or the validation of you are worthy and that, you are smart and you know what you're talking about. If you need the likes, the comments, and the dollars to make you feel validated about you, and that's why you're creating the content, that is going to repel your audience because they can actually feel that you need something from them and that you are not genuinely here to serve them. This is why you can hear everything that people are not saying because there's this need inside of this content. And you're like, why is this person talking like that? Like you might think it, you might feel it, and you can't put your finger on it. They didn't say anything crazy, but it's a sensation. And you're like, I don't really feel connected. Even if that person's content is good, even if you like what they're putting out, there's still a disconnect in it. It's almost like they need to do it as some kind of performance or some kind of show because ultimately it's for them. They are seeking to feel validated. And so if you are not emotionally aligned, where you are here to service your audience and remove your ego off the table and have nothing to gain, nothing to hide, nothing to lose, nothing to prove, and you're showing up online in that way, that is when people are going to feel you. That's when they're going to feel like you are here of service. You are here to genuinely help them get a result, and you become a brand that people want to follow because it is not about you. They can feel that you care about them. So even if the words that you are speaking is about the person's pain, about their desire, they can automatically pick up on the energy behind that. Take someone saying, I'm sorry, for example. Let's say you're in a relationship and somebody says, I'm sorry. They could say, I'm sorry, and you can feel in your heart if they mean it or not. But they're saying, I'm sorry, because they still want to be in your presence and they want to maintain access to you and still have a relationship. So their I'm sorry comes off as I'm sorry. Like you don't really feel anything because their actual motive is to still be in your presence, to still be around you. But when someone is sincerely sorry and they genuinely have put how you feel ahead of them needing something, and they say, I'm sorry, you're automatically going to feel it because we hear everything that people do not say. Our body is so smart. I always say the mind is powerful, but the body is intelligent. And we pick up on these cues. It's like we have these like content senses, these like content spidey senses where we can sense when someone on the other side of the screen is emotionally connected to the things that they are saying or not, or mentally connected or not. So you want to believe deeply in your ability to help your audience get results. not showing your audience how smart you are so that they can like it and say, hey, you're really smart. Hey, I really love this post, or pay you as a way of validation. You are just like, hey, listen, I've got some wisdom and some insights. I can serve you in such a great way. And like that is how your content is coming across. So you have to believe deeply in your ability to help someone get results, not just know that you've got knowledge, because everyone has knowledge, but it doesn't mean that people believe in their ability to help someone get results. So you've got to believe that you can help them. And then you also have to show your audience that you understand them rather than seeking to be understood. If we are a people pleaser by nature and we want to not ruffle feathers, keep everything copacetic, not make anybody upset, not trigger anybody out there, and we're like, just not wanting to step on any toes, your content's going to come off like you're talking to everyone. And the moment you're talking to everyone, you're attempting to be understood. You're attempting to be the kind of person who makes everybody feel good and everything is hunky dory. But really, you're not servicing anybody. Because the people who need exactly what you have, they need to hear it straight shot. They need to hear it cutthroat at times, right? They need to be held to higher levels of accountability through your content. But if you're pleasing everybody and you don't want to say anything because you don't want to step on anybody's toes, then you're not holding your audience to a level of accountability, to an identity that they ultimately want to be at, that you are supposed to help them reach. And so this actually boils down to you yourself not needing something from your content. This is about serving your audience. So you have to show them that you understand them, not try to be understood. And then the last place to be aligned is spiritually. Now, when we're not aligned spiritually, it's because we see man as the source of our income. That means that you have idolized man, you fear man, and it also means that you've idolized money. And you think that when you create content, it's about, let me get this money. Let me make sure that I'm pleasing these people on this planet here. When ultimately we're supposed to please God and serve people, but you end up pleasing people. And so now you've become spiritually disconnected from the source who pays you, which is God, because you are a message carrier. You are carrying a message that is serving people, and God is speaking through you, just like God is speaking through the person who is buying from you. They're going to get a nudge. They're going to get an intuitive hit. They're going to get guided that you are the person for them, just like you are guided to put your message out there. And when you recognize that he is the source and he's given you the power to get wealth, then you don't need to please man and hope that someone pays you, because you know God has it taken care of. So you want to be spiritually aligned and you want to be guided by the word, not the world. And so you have to realize the way to actually move through this and get spiritually aligned is to realize and acknowledge where your gifts come from. Yes, there are talents that we have developed, but it was first a gift from God that we have now developed and improved upon. And so this is all part of our purpose. It's all a part of our fulfillment here on this planet for the kingdom. And so he's given us these gifts that we can nurture that then serve the people of this world, serve his people. And so you want to remain in a state of acknowledgement and gratitude for the gifts that he has given you. And you also don't want to rush your results. Now, what I mean by that is I'm not saying not to have a vision or not to set a plan in place. But what I mean is don't try to make something happen faster than it's supposed to, because you can't actually produce the results on your own. You can take consistent action. You can be steady in your action. You can have a sense of urgency, and intensity, which I highly recommend to have some urgency and intensity with what you are doing as you are building, but don't have urgency and intensity to hope to get the result faster because the result is in God's time. We ourselves need to be developed and improve our discipline and deepen our faith and our character so that we can become better leaders, so we could steward the people we're here to serve, and we could steward larger amounts of money. But everything that God takes us through is us being shaped for the things we need to be shaped for what He has for us. He's preparing us. Even through the trial and through the challenge, He is preparing us. But if we are trying to create content and put out a lot of content because we think that I'm just going to keep doing more and more and more and more and more because I'm going to get results faster because people are going to buy from me faster, but we've completely negated the fact that God is the source and we're idolizing man and idolizing money and we're not spiritually connected to Him, then this leads to burnout. This leads to people wanting to burn their business down, say it's not for them. But we have to understand that everything is good in His time. And along the way, we get better by developing the gifts that He has given us. We want to read our Bible, understand His word, understand the way that He speaks to us and shapes us, and honestly has given us a blueprint for our business, has given us the people to connect to that are going to help us and that are going to serve us so that we also grow. And everything is working out, even when it doesn't look like it's working out. But we know that faith comes by hearing, not by sight. And so it is all working out, but we have to develop more trust in it working out. And so sometimes when the content isn't converting, we also have to realize, well, are we being shaped for patience? Are we being shaped to take action even when it looks like nothing is working? We are being shaped to take action without needing external validation because this is the process of becoming the person who can steward more people and more wealth, the person who has more discipline and more emotional availability to handle a bigger business, a person who can now handle more responsibility as our business grows. And so in this waiting period, I don't even like the word waiting anymore. I used to hear people say, I'm waiting on God. God's waiting on us. God has literally given us everything that we need, and things will always come to us to shape us. But yes, we have to take action, but now we have to be mentally, emotionally, and spiritually connected on this path. And so this process of it not happening fast enough, which some people have called waiting, but it not happening fast enough is because we're very likely not learning the lessons we need to learn. We're not becoming mentally clear and renewed. We're not becoming more emotionally available. We're not becoming more spiritually connected. So it seems like, gosh, I'm waiting so long. But I encourage you to take a look at, well, how connected are you? What are your thoughts like mentally? How are your emotions when you're showing up in your business? Is it to get something or is it genuinely here to serve? And are you enjoying the process of creation? Are you enjoying how you are showing up to genuinely serve people? Or do you always need to get something every time you serve? If we can understand that showing up to service people without needing, wanting, or desiring anything in return is actually how we get the return, things will drastically shift. And this is why it's important to get mentally, emotionally, and spiritually connected because that is how you detach yourself from needing something to happen because God already got it taken care of. And wherever you are right now is so perfect. I trust that this video blesses you. If you have not already, check out my other video where I talk about the 4 levels of content creation and my other video, which is all about why people are not buying from your content. Check those out and I will see you all in another video. Bye.